A recent meeting in South Africa of foreign ministers from the BRICS group of countries has brought up the need to rebalance the world order and move the attention away from Western countries. Are Western countries losing control of the world? Find out about the BRICS countries' big ideas as they call for a shift that shakes up the status quo and makes the world more fair and open to everyone. In terms of how the economy works, the BRICS countries are at the center of a major shift in the global order. This is because they are determined to change the way the economy works. These emerging economies have used their combined strength to show impressive growth rates, large contributions to the global GDP, and obvious resilience in the face of economic challenges. Their call for a rebalancing of the global order comes from their firm belief that the current system does not reflect their growing economic power and does not give them the fair share of benefits they earn. The BRICS countries want to make sure that resources and chances are shared more fairly. This is at the heart of their economic plan. These countries have a lot of natural resources, like minerals, energy sources, and crops. They want to make sure that the benefits of these resources are shared in an open and inclusive way. By challenging the existing structures that have long favored Western countries, the BRICS countries want to reshape the global economic order to promote sustainable growth, reduce dependence on foreign providers, and address global inequalities. The BRICS countries also want more access to global markets because they know that foreign trade is a key part of their economic growth. Their growing middle class and growing customer markets offer businesses and investors good chances to make money. But they can't fully take part in the global market because of things like trade limits, protectionist policies, and discriminatory practices. By pushing for a more open and inclusive trading system, the BRICS countries want to create a level playing field that helps their economies grow, encourages innovation and entrepreneurship, and promotes shared prosperity. In addition to redistributing resources and getting access to markets, the BRICS countries are very aware that international financial institutions need to be changed. They say that these organizations, which were set up in a different time, no longer accurately reflect the current state of the global economy. Because their economies have changed so much, the BRICS countries want more say, more influence, and more power to make decisions in these institutions. They push for changes that reflect the realities of the 21st century and create a global financial governance structure that is more democratic and includes everyone. This would give emerging countries a voice in shaping global economic policies. Economic reasons aren't the only reason why the BRICS countries are calling for a change in the global order. It is based on a bigger picture of global economic stability, resilience, and long-term growth. They know that their success depends on the success of the international community and work to encourage cooperation, collaboration, and relationships that are good for both sides. By questioning the status quo and pushing for a more fair distribution of economic benefits, the BRICS countries want to make sure that all nations have a chance to do well. This will lead to shared prosperity and less inequality in society and the economy. The question remains, will this group of new economic powers be able to change the way the world works? The stakes are high, the problems are big, and the effects will be felt for a long time. Join us as we dig deeper into what this bold call for change means and untangle the complex web of power relationships that will shape the future of global governance. When the BRICS nations say that the global order needs to be rebalanced, they are really worried about how the world will develop. They know that the current structure, which is mostly run by Western countries, doesn't meet all of the needs and goals of developing countries. This transformative vision has far-reaching effects that touch on important parts of global development. One important implication is the focus on including everyone and putting people at the center of development. The BRICS countries push for policies and programs that put an emphasis on ending poverty, promoting sustainable development, and making sure everyone has the same rights. They think that development should include more than just economic growth. It should also include social progress, a healthy environment, and better quality of life for everyone. The idea that access to technology and knowledge is important for development is at the heart of their plan. The BRICS countries stress how important it is to close the digital divide and give developing countries the same chances to use technology to its fullest potential. They call for increased knowledge transfer, capacity building programs, and technical assistance to empower nations in their development efforts. By rebalancing the global order, The BRICS countries aim to create a more just and equitable world. They seek to address the disparities in economic power, influence, and decision-making that currently favor Western nations. By advocating for a more inclusive and balanced approach, they strive to ensure that the benefits of globalization and development reach all nations, particularly the marginalized and underrepresented. This call for rebalancing also carries implications for the global governance architecture. The BRICS nations envision a more representative and inclusive system that reflects the evolving geopolitical landscape. They stress the need for reforms in international financial institutions, such as the IMF and World Bank, to give voice and agency to emerging economies. By challenging the existing power structures, they seek to create a more democratic and inclusive global governance framework that better addresses the diverse needs and interests of all nations. The call for rebalancing the global order made by the BRICS countries holds significant geopolitical implications that challenge the established dominance of Western powers. These emerging economies perceive the current global order as imbalanced and seek to assert their growing influence on the global stage. By advocating for a more multipolar world, they aim to reshape the geopolitical landscape and foster a more inclusive and equitable international system. At the heart of their message is a desire to challenge the entrenched hegemony of Western countries. The BRICS countries think that the concentration of power and decision-making in the hands of a few undermines the principles of fairness, representation, and diversity in global governance. They argue that a more balanced distribution of power and influence is necessary to reflect the changing dynamics of the international community. By promoting a more inclusive global order, the BRICS nations aim to recognize the rising influence and contributions of non-Western countries. They assert that the world's challenges and opportunities require diverse perspectives and solutions that can only be achieved through equal participation and representation. By calling for rebalancing, the BRICS countries want to create a place where emerging powers can have a bigger say in how the world works. This will make people feel more responsible for each other and more willing to work together. The geopolitical consequences of this rebalancing stretch beyond the redistribution of power. It means that the world's story is changing and that emerging economies are getting more attention for their economic growth, impact in their regions, and contributions to global development. The BRICS nations aim to challenge the view that global affairs are determined solely by Western powers, stressing the need for a more multipolar approach that reflects the realities of a changing world. Moreover, the call for rebalancing serves as a catalyst for dialogue and collaboration among nations. By questioning the power structures that are already in place, the BRICS countries open the door to talks about global governance reforms. This helps make sure that decision-making processes are more open and representative. This approach encourages a sense of shared responsibility, group decision-making, and mutual respect among nations, paving the way for an international system that works better together. Regional cooperation and South-South solidarity play a pivotal role in the BRICS nations' vision of rebalancing the global order. They recognize that collaboration among emerging economies, both within the BRICS framework and beyond, holds immense potential for shaping a more equitable and inclusive international system. The BRICS nations understand the power of regional cooperation as a catalyst for change. They aim to strengthen ties with other regional blocs, such as the African Union, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, among others. By forging partnerships and engaging in dialogue with these regional entities, the BRICS countries seek to build a broader network of support, amplifying their collective voice on the global stage. At the heart of regional cooperation is the notion of South-South solidarity. The BRICS nations, as representatives of the Global South, recognize the importance of unity and collaboration among developing nations. They think that by using their shared experiences, challenges, and goals, they can help each other understand each other better, build trust, and help each other out. South-South cooperation allows them to exchange best practices, share knowledge, and learn from each other's successes and failures. Through regional cooperation and South-South solidarity, the BRICS countries aim to enhance their combined influence. They recognize that by pooling their economic and political clout, they can shape global agendas, advocate for their shared interests, and challenge the established norms that have perpetuated Western dominance. By presenting a united front, the BRICS nations can wield greater leverage in international negotiations, pushing for reforms and policies that better reflect the realities and aspirations of emerging economies.